International human rights law recognizes everyone's right to an adequate standard of living, including adequate housing. Despite the central place of these rights within the global legal system, well over 1 billion people are not adequately housed. Millions around the world live in life or health-threatening conditions, in overcrowded slums and informal settlement, or in other conditions which do not uphold their human rights and their dignity. Further millions are forcibly evicted or threatened with forced evictions from their homes every year. This is Housing Development, a program where we discuss housing affordability and accessibility to Nigerians. As always, I am Flora Ani, your housing diva. The news making rounds in the sector is up next.
The Lagos State Task Force says there is no going back on demolition of illegal structures at the Lekki Coastal Road, describing it as a continuous exercise. The chairman of the agency, Shola Jejeloye, a chief superintendent of police who led the operation, said it was to drive home its mandate of giving inhabitants in the axis a peaceful and habitable environment. The chairman warned all squatters and unscrupulous elements who tried to call bluff of the agency's activities to have a rethink and turn over a new leaf or risk being prosecuted. He appealed to roadside traders in the area to move their wares to a designated market complex rather than defacing the streets and roads. Experts have tasked the incoming administration at federal and state levels to focus more on housing as a means of reducing poverty in the nation. According to Hakeem Ogunniran, Chief Executive Officer of Eximia Realty Company Limited, housing is one of the economic factors that must be used to help people in the nation escape poverty. Ogunniran made this known at the 17th Yearly Leadership Seminar tagged Closing the Poverty Gap Through Housing Issues, Challenges and Solutions, organized by Harvest Fields International Church, Lagos. According to him, the sector needs direct intervention from government by creating institutions that will deliver low-cost and social housing for the people. The Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, has said Nigeria now owns 15.8% of Shelter Afrique, with its contributions of a little over $30 million since 2016. Fashola disclosed this at the opening ceremony of Shelter Afrique's 42nd AGM on Monday in Abuja. According to the minister, from a contribution of $5.9 million in 2016, $9.3 million in 2020, and another $7.1 million in 2022, Nigeria's total contributions totaled $22.5 million. Further reiterated the collective action of member states and development partners during very difficult challenges to the growth of the company.
For more news, visit www.africanhousingnews.com. With a swelling population and increasing urban migration, which has increased the deficit driven by soaring demand, Nigeria's housing deficit continues to rise annually, while many cities across the country, particularly Abuja, flaunt empty, unaffordable houses. This report coming up seeks to analyze high demand and empty houses, a look at the increase in the cost of accommodation.
The demand for houses in Nigeria has in recent times outweighed its supply, and the country is said to have a housing deficit of above 17 million units, according to reports. This number is projected to reach 22 million by 2030. Reacting, Kadri Olabanji Michael explains the factors responsible for the housing deficit and increasing cost of accommodation, while also proffering solutions as to how it can be solved.
Yeah, we can develop housing in Nigeria by making housing affordable for a common man. For instance, the government can embark on mass housing development, low-cost mass housing development, in order for low-income earners to subscribe to housing. Well, a lot of factors are responsible. Number one, when you look at economic meltdown is also a key factor that has contributed to deficit. And of course, that economic meltdown has indirectly affected the income of citizens. When you see a common man, a common man earning maybe 30,000 naira salary, you don't expect such persons to be able to afford housing. So because to be able to afford housing is actually expensive. So earnings is also play a key role in any development. Yes, of course. When you look at it now, you see that there are people who are rich. Maybe they got their hard earnings either legally or legibly. They got it in the right way or in an illegal way. You see that we have a lot of houses in Maitama, in Gwarimpa, empty houses without anybody staying there. And of course, this is also a factor that is contributing to low deficit in housing. So if the government can come up with a law, with a legislation that can create a control, a system to disallow people having houses, having properties that will just be there empty without anybody using them, I think it will be a good one.
For Mrs. Okikiola Oluyinka Margaret, the government needs to encourage local manufacturers, claiming that the high cost of materials is one of the causes of the high cost of accommodation in Nigeria.
I think this high demand or increase in cost of accommodation in Nigeria is basically because of materials. If the government can encourage local manufacturing, building materials, in terms of encouraging it, and let there be more mass production, that will go a long way, and it will reduce the high cost on building materials and the cost of building generally, or the cost of increase in cost of accommodation will definitely come down, because the high cost of material is the major source of all this increase of accommodation.
Despite efforts by various stakeholders to address the housing crisis, which have not yielded much results as the impact of the housing gap has risen to appreciable levels, it is important for government to come up with policies that will help address these challenges so as to ensure affordability and availability of houses for Nigerians.
Still on the provision of affordable housing and housing shortfall in the midst of vacant, unoccupied houses, these Nigerians have this to say.
if I was the president, what I would do is I would actually go there, pursue everybody, pack people from the villages, and then take them down there, let them start living. Because one of the rights of everybody is free accommodation. You should go to all those estates and then revoke their license and say, okay, and investigate. Why are people keeping houses for years for their children? While the people are still alive, they cannot afford this thing. What they should do is one, either they revoke their license and then take those buildings and give it to the masses. Because in the first place, the property, the land and everything belongs to the masses.
I would say that unoccupied houses, they can rent it out to people that don't even have at all. Like Asokoro here, there are so many buildings, mansions that there is nobody. From year to year, there are nobody except rats, cockroach, everything that is taken over the place. But there are so many people that don't even have a place to lay their head. Let people occupy the empty houses, the building that there is nobody.
The government should put a policy that any house that is not occupied for so time, then they should find a way to give or to a kind of make the owner of the house to make available those houses so that those that does not have house to stay, they can stay inside of them, or they can even put a tax. That tax can force them to put it for rent and the rest, because most of the houses in Asokoro and Maitama and other places, they are all empty. You go to a whole street, you see empty houses, 5 bedrooms, 6 bedrooms, duplex, all of them are empty. So I think if the policy are made that those who have those houses should put it in use, either by them or by any other people that can be able to occupy them, or even subsidize it, so that with a little amount of money, people can be able to rent those places. I think it will be a better way. So taxes should be imposed on those who left their houses empty without people. Those taxes will make them to start bringing people to stay there, or collect a little amount of money so that people can stay in those houses.
Just want the government to collect the houses, to share it for the poor ones.
It is the duty of the government to officially allocate houses to all citizens of this country. If there is an unoccupied flats, unoccupied houses here and there, and the owners have no use of it, and are not ready to bring the rate down for the downtrodden to occupy this, I will advise the government to forcefully take some percentage of it and give to the less privileged, those who are lonely, sleeping aimlessly on the street, cut across the whole federation.
Nigerians there speaking about unoccupied houses and what should be done to such. Housing is a basic human need, as we always say. No one should lack it. I'll be back in a moment.
It is time to embrace town planning for sustainable development in the country, where effective town planning is carried out. Social and economic facilities are equitably distributed and accessible to the population. Health challenges will be minimized, productivity will greatly improve, wealth will increase, and safety will be enhanced. The enactment of the Nigerian Urban and Regional Planning Law in 1992, which became an Act of Parliament as Cap N138 LFN 2004, stipulates that approval of relevant development control department shall be required for any land development. Let us say no to unplanned settlements. Say no to illegal and unauthorized developments. Say no to land grabbing. Avoid demolition. Let's end the rising proliferation of illegal structures and housing estates. Engage in only approved development. Let's bring sanity back to our land. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners with the support of Housing Development Advocacy Network.
Welcome back. You're watching Housing Development. Shelter Afrique, a pan-African finance institution that exclusively supports the development of the housing and real estate sector in Africa, is holding her 42nd annual general meeting and symposium with the theme Political Economy in the Built Environment. Have a look.
The Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, on Monday, disclosed the government's plans to provide additional affordable housing units for Nigerians through its investments in the Pan-African Finance Institution, Shelter Afrique. Fashola made this known in his opening remarks during the 42nd Annual General Meeting and Symposium of Shelter Afrique, themed Political Economy in the Built Environment, held in Abuja. The minister stated that with a contribution of $22.5 million and a shareholding capacity of 15.8%, the nation has secured the capacity to improve investments in social housing schemes for its citizens.
Nigeria has made contributions of about $5.9 million in 2017, $9.392 million in 2020, and $7,151,000 in 2022, making a total sum of $22,503,144.84. This has brought Nigeria's shareholding in the company to 15.80%, now valued at $30,724,961.
Speaking earlier, the chairperson of the board of directors of the company, Chi Akboji, said despite numerous global challenges faced, the company has continued to deliver multiple housing projects for Africans.
Shelter Afrique has yielded tremendous value add for Nigeria, for the country as a whole. And of course, right now we have the chairman of the board, who's a Nigerian herself, and of course, we have some other Nigerian staff. So it's really a very good investment for Nigeria.
Speaking in the same vein, the managing director of the company, Thiemo Habib Khan, restated the company's objectives to scale up affordable housing across the continent.
Our objective is really to scale up affordable housing across the continent. Like my chair just clearly put it, we are really engaged in Nigeria. Last year we've been issuing these bonds, and this is a program that would be done over a few years of about $500 million, which is about 200 billion nairas, and we've done the first tranche. And we're going to do more and more of it, right? So the idea is really to work with financial institutions, with large-scale developers, with government, the PPPs, and then set up funds, what we call the Fund Management Group. This is a whole new initiative that Shelter Afrique is coming up with.
The Nigeria Honorable Minister of Finance, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, who represented the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, acknowledged that the investment Nigeria has with Shelter Afrique is one of the best investments the nation has.
The investment that Nigeria has in Shelter Afrique is one of the best performing investments that we have. And also the decision the Shelter Afrique took to float 46 billion naira bond in the Nigerian capital market is a very important catalytic investment, especially for the development of the Nigerian capital market, but also for the development of the building industry. And I want to congratulate you all for taking that very important decision.
Hi, I'm Bob Weinsheng, CEO of iBuild Global, and keep watching the Housing Development Program.
Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria heartily welcome the Chairperson of Board of Directors, Vice Chairperson, Ministers of Housing from all African countries, and the Chief Executive Officer of Shelter Afrique to Abuja, Nigeria for the 42nd AGM. As the Pan-African finance institution that exclusively supports the development of the housing and real estate sector in Africa, REDAN is proud to be associated with you and your 42nd Annual General Meeting and Symposium. We appreciate your commitment in meeting the needs of the continent's rapidly growing urban population, which has positive impact on the lives of many. We congratulate you for your giant strides as we wish you a successful AGM and Symposium. Signed, Alhaji Dr. Aliyu Oroji Wabago, President, REDAN.
You're watching Housing Development. The desire to acquire decent and affordable housing has lured a lot of Nigerians into temptations that at times cost them their life fortunes. Nigerians are therefore prone to the activities of these fake estate developers who do not stop at anything to swindle their victims. However, most people are swindled because they fail to look before they leap. Tell you what, the 17th Africa International Housing Show will bring together estate development companies from across the country, so you have an opportunity to meet genuine developers with housing projects and also mortgage banks to seal deals. There is going to be a massive gathering of exhibitors, entrepreneurs and service providers in real estate. Be a part of this largest gathering of stakeholders from across the world under one roof. Now let's have a look at what those that attended the 16th edition of the show are saying.
Abuja International Housing Show.
It's about the whole of Nigeria, the whole of West Africa. You have stakeholders coming from all over and in fact globally.
It's an excellent way of bringing thought leaders, investors
to come together and figure out ways to increase capacity in developing housing.
You're watching Housing Development. The Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria recently commissioned affordable housing units developed by Cocoon Atlantic Housing Estate, located in Lekki, Lagos State. Now here's the highlight of the commissioning ceremony.
A recent study of housing situation in Nigeria puts existing housing stock at 23 per 1,000 inhabitants. The country's present housing deficit as of December 2018 is estimated at a staggering 20 million units, while about 21 trillion naira will be required to finance the deficit. The Federal Ministry of Housing, through the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, in partnership with labor unions and in some cases the private sector players, have continued to seek ways of addressing this ugly trend.
is an affirmation.
Managing Director of FMBN, Mr. Madu Haman, said that the successful delivery of the project was achieved through the bank's cooperative housing development loan window.
One of the initiatives that the bank is currently using is what we call the Cooperative Housing Development Loan, which is the same scheme we use in this estate. It's a scheme that allows the contributors to National Housing Fund scheme to decide on their own selling prices and also to make the houses really affordable for their members. Because if they are coming through cooperative, meaning they are coming in a group, probably they would have gotten a land, and that brings down a lot on the price of the houses. So, and that is why a lot of cooperative societies are embracing the scheme currently, and that is why we are here today.
For Mr. Farouk Imam, Managing Director, Cocoon Atlantic Housing Estate, the inauguration was due to the dedication and patience from FMBN management, staff, and enthusiasm from the company's partners.
This is our first project in Lagos. The others being up north, or country where we're better known. So, you know, there was the initial lack of enthusiasm to a relatively untested developer, but as you can see, we delivered, and you know, both as to time, cost, and quality, and you know, we have everything sold out even before completion.
Everyone here commends the FMBN for ensuring the Nigerians continue to have access to decent and secure accommodation through affordable mortgage financing, a move that would significantly help reduce the housing deficits in Nigeria.
That's it on today's edition of Housing Development. Thanks for watching. I remain your housing diva, Flora Ani. You have a lovely day.